Namaste and welcome to class. Thank you for sitting with me with an undivided attention. And today's class we are going to talk about cohesiveness and detachment in the structure of being in relation to our ancestors. This topic can be a whole entire workshop, but I want to resume because this is part of what at this point in your journey and your classes you may be facing. So let's start with what is cohesiveness, because from the word yoga, right, yoga or yut is those parts of ourselves that work in unison, that work in harmony. That means that it's not you think one thing, you do other thing, you feel other thing, you move towards your purpose, but then you undo that with the other hand and so on. So cohesiveness is really the base of settling yourself into your true nature. So all your parts, and from the point of view of the structure of being, you have 12 bodies. Some they are impermanent, some they are very movable, some they are stable and are what we say the true of your nature. So when these parts of you start relaxing and releasing all the things that you have acquired, your ignorance, your obsolete belief systems, etc., naturally the nature synchronize these vibrations. And isn't that when you feel centered, when you feel at peace, when you feel that things are falling into place? So cohesiveness is something you can practice every day. And it can be very subtle. Sometimes you need the help of a teacher or a friend to give you feedback on what are the things that you are not cohesive. Because it's not one time that you do it, it's constantly. As you evolve, you need to harmonize and synchronize, harmonize and synchronize. For example, if you are in a career of being an architect and you have built your reputation and your life and your economy and your relationships and your friends, etc., and then it comes a time when you have the inspiration and say, oh, I want to start what I had when I was a child, which it was to paint. And you start painting, and you start having recognition or art shows or commissions or anything that stimulate that new flow of life. And then somebody asks, what are you? And you say, well, I am an architect. And you are still identifying with the architect because it's what you know, etc. You are out of cohesiveness. Your actions is moving towards a more flow creative thing, and your identity is somewhere else. So many of us have that. We work in one field, but our passion is in somewhere else. Or we are in a relationship and we say, well, this is the best I can get, and that I will keep it, even though my heart don't feel so totally complete, so totally engaged. So all this submissiveness that the ego, out of fear, induce us, put us out of cohesiveness. So there is a job for you, just to reflect in your meditation if your actions, your passion, your feelings, your mind are in unison, if they are in harmony, if they are making you feel that, oh, it's exciting, and it's in total cohesiveness within yourself. Now, let's move about the structure of being. In this part, we can define the structure of being as a map or a series of frequencies that work together to give us the whole spectrum of creation. And within that structure of being, you exchange energy, information, and you add information, and you pass on information. It's a living matrix that you inhabit. And it's a matrix that requests from you to be aware of the different layers. For some of you that doesn't know the structure of being, you can find that more defined definitions in the course of Inwardly Realized. But in here, the structure of being, just as a resume, is divided in 3 parts. The first part is the more impermanent aspect of you. It's the more dense part of the matrix. It's the part that have no light, that is not self-sustaining, and that is designed for you to enter in a holodeck, kind of, for you to experience and learn something about information, connectability, and integration of experiences. In this part of the structure of being, we have 4 bodies. Your physical body, your etheric body, or your acute sense of your environment, your strength. You have your emotional body, and you have your mental body. All these 4 parts are like tapes that through the senses record all what you feel, what you think, how your body is going, what the ancestors is broadcasting to you in every moment. So it's a deep recorder, and it records through the senses, through the impressions. In the yogi text, it's called the samkaras. And they can be so gravitational, pulling these samkaras, that the physical body, that you feel bound to the physical body. So in this part of the structure of being, you know what is the process of detachment. I'm not the body. I'm not my environment, what I have. I am not what I feel. I am not what I think. We can resume the process of detachment in the earth body with those premises. And that's part of the purification of all these practices, is to lose up the importance on the concrete. Then you have around the physical body, you have your soul bodies. And in there you also have 4 bands of information and test of detachments. So the first detachment comes when you hit the suprastar body, And in the suprasta body, you have all the contracts, all the relationships that are complementary and supplementary in your earth bodies for you to have an experience. So before you born, you can imagine that, oh, you want to be my partner, and you can have the type of partner that don't like this, so I can be triggered. Or can you be my parent? Can I meet you at this age or that age? Every single detail you have designed. It's not written in stone, but the passage of this body is the acknowledgement that everything that you're living in your physical bodies is designed by you. That you are responsible for absolutely every detail that you have experienced in this life. And that's where the process of interiorization happens, when you are not blaming others. I am in pain because you left me and you have another boyfriend, or I am you are responsible for my happiness. If you smile, I'm happy. If you give me this, I'm happy. If I have this, I am happy. This passage of detachment is where you say, I have created everything. I am the center of my creation. And then you have in that the relation to ancestors. Because in here, the lineage that you have in your blood have certain experiences and information. Some, they are lacking information in order to complete certain cohesiveness. So they deposit in you certain requests. For example, I born in a family where my father was more inclined into the discipline and excellency and rigidity and that kind of thing. While my mother was more a kind of a healer, a poet, a more artistic approach. Both, they were balancing and they work well together. But it was deposited in me the need to give consciousness. They need consciousness. They need knowledge to expand their partnership. So that flow of request is so important that you realize what is that your ancestors are requesting from you. When you don't take that personally, when you say, oh, I am like that, and when you are really acknowledging that this is part of me returning as a gratitude to have acquired my physical body, to have acquired this information. Some of you born in very young ancestry, and they need a lot of information and not a lot of consciousness. So you have incredible amount of experiences very quickly. How you organize it and how you pass on to your ancestors is part of that suprasta body. And you have to detach from that. You have to do the job and you have to move on. The other part, the other body is your light body. And in your light body is all about the memories you have. It's the information of all the journey that you have in matter, between matter, and out of matter. Some they call the Akashic records. And in that library, you can get lost. And in that library, you have information that you deeply feel in the core that this is my principle, and you can be very rigid about it. Isn't that in that body you also need to let go? And here also you have your celestial body. And in the celestial body is all the support that the soul have from counselors, from elementals, from spirit guides, from librarian, from angels, from different dimensions, from your higher self, from your spiritual cluster. It's a family reunion where you feel very supported, very cozy. The information flow very fluidly when you are in connection with your spiritual parents. And you can get very cozy. But also you are requested to let that go. When you let that go, you go into the consecration body. And in the consecration body, it's about meeting the great samurais that say, do you have any identity? Are you humble enough to cross to a more subtle part of the structure of being, which is the spirit bodies? And in the consecration body is where these samurais are testing you. If you have understood really the humbleness, the interiorization, and the series of detachments that have been flowing in a way to make you more and more subtle. So in the consecration body you also have that question, how you have served your ancestors and how you have detached from your ancestries. How you have contributed, say that's finished, I have done the job, I need to belong to a more wider family. Then if that happens, because lots that get stuck in there, and that's what we as a teacher try to stimulate, drop the identity, drop the ego sense, and open yourself to the acceptance of what it is. Then it opens the gates towards your spirit bodies. A higher frequency where you find again 4 bands of information. The first is your body of truth, where you start seeing the truth, hidden truth that you didn't see it before, about yourself, about the world, about the planet, about your journey, about the souls, about the memories, about the ancestors. You meet the truth. As we know, there is no one truth as we try to define. Truth is simply a flow of different information that are valid or in congruence to your experiences. That's what it makes it true, is if you have incarnated, if you have make an action on it. But you have to detach also from that sense that I know or I see things that nobody else sees. And in that you can get trapped as well. You can get trapped because you start making very rigid or making solid what you think you know. But creation don't work that way. Truth is more like a river, and each particle, each drop in the river is telling you something new, fresh every day. And then you have your body of freedom, where you clearly see that everything is given to you, that you are lacking nothing, that everything is start to be in alignment, start to be in certain flow. And in the body of freedom, you are really truly detached from any earth thing. You know that you are not the body. You know that you are not the concrete. You see the impermanence. You understand the impermanence. And you can incarnate from instantaneously, from one moment to another consciously, in a different frequency in the body. But you need to detach that from that. And as you become more and more subtle, that spirit body relates to the sun. And in that is your body of enlightenment. Is when all the cells of your body start accepting light. So the information start from the density of not having light to unveiling all the nature or cohesiveness with the sun. The eternal giver is when the heart just give and receive freely, and in that friction light is created. So the body of light or the body of enlightenment is another one that you need to let go. You don't give any importance. You feel powerful, you feel bright, you feel charisma, you feel that nothing is really touching you. But you need to detach from that to move into the actual full fusion body where everything is in cohesiveness. All these 12 dimensions are in cohesiveness. I don't want to talk about beyond that, but I want to give you the sense that in each of the layers of the structure of being, you are requested to detach something, to give something, to receive something. Some of you have that journey very quickly, and if you are in the process of a spiritual path, that happens quickly and consciously. Others need to pay things because they have a still attention, they have a still importance from others, they have a still glory from others. So they have to pay. So the structure of being is not the same in terms of cycles for everybody. Now, I want also to mention that the process of detachment is not only from the earth bodies all the way to the fusion body, but it's also from the fusion body when you enter into incarnation. You have to pass through all these 12 layers to acquire all the information that you need from the ancestors, from their light, from the planet, from the elements, from your identity, from your soul, etc. So you need to detach from the subtleness of what you have experienced, that sense of unity, that sense of oneness, that sense of, oh, I am home. And you have to go back and not to remember anything. So that breathable flow of detachment is constantly. And it have very particular flavor depending of the structure of being. So just to resume and to make it concreted, since we are working now in the first chakra and in the ancestors, I want you to reflect a little bit about the gift that the ancestors have gave you. Obviously your physical body, obviously certain attributes, like for me is the arts from my mother, the discipline from my father, just the more near ancestors, right? And what is it in return that you are requested? You can examine that by your own assessment of what do you think your mother and father were lacking. When I see my father, say, oh my God, it's so rigid. If he only understand. See, one time, I tell you a story. I have an interview in the newspaper in Colombia about, I think it was about something about dreams and consciousness or something. And I show it to him and say, here, Dad. Of course he was very proud that I was publicly recognized. And he read the article and said, I understand nothing. What is this? I have no clue. And it was the simplest public thing. It's in that moment I say, you need consciousness, right? I didn't judge, I didn't take it personally, but it was that realization that I have a piece that he didn't have. So make two columns, one from mom, one for father, and see what is the request that they are asking you to complete. Usually that request, it won't be an agreement. You can see in my example of my dad and me, it was a completely different thing. He won't be understanding, and I have hard time saying how you can remain only in the discipline. So, if you're able to spot that, take a few days to think this. What my mother requests from me, what my father requests from me. Something that they want or need it. And it is in my life that I am supplying it or not. This is the evolution and contribution of your human consciousness. It is through that the ancestry level of vibration rises by the parts taking responsibility in supplying the information that it needs. See, I have another example. I have the honor to work with mother and daughter. And this specific daughter, it loves and needs attention. And is very much concerned in the opinion of others. When I work with the mother, was exactly the same thing. And as a deduction for them was that they need to be good, to behave well, to be likable, to be pleasant, to accept only good, not evil, no negative things, only good. But equally, daughter and mother attract darkness, illness, or not full flourishment of their capacity, or in strange alliances. How they accept and heal their own contact with what they call negativity or darkness is part of the contribution in the ancestries. So take notes, and in your group, open the inquiry. Ask questions to your partners. What do you think about this proposal to me? So be a counselor to each other. Don't believe everything that the others say. Question if that is true, because it has to be in congruence with the passion of that person. This is important. If my passion is knowledge, is to give knowledge, is to empower others, is to bring consciousness into the planet, I am in cohesiveness with the request of my ancestors. It's not something different. So what you do in cohesiveness are pleasing your ancestors. You have a long lesson today and a lot of knowledge. But with your practice, it will sink in. You will take the part that you need, and everything else will unfold in their own time. Thank you again for sitting with me, and I'll see you in class next time. Bye for now. Namaste.